Hello and welcome to the FPL fan show. Apologies, a minute or two late. That's Nacho's fault, looking after the puppy again. But anyway, we're here. Go on, Nacho. Tell me you're sorry.
I gotta take all of the grief here, guys. I apologise. Puppy's taking over my life, so yeah, I apologise in advance.
Anyway, but yeah, today we're going to discuss the best 1 week punts for game week 30. We're going to look at all the different players, and we're also going to be revealing our teams. So I thought for this week, Nacho, instead of looking at kind of the last game week, because it was so long ago, I think we should just crack on and just talk about who are the must-have players for this game week. You know, a lot of us are going to be wildcarding after that. So, yeah, what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea?
Is that because, I was going to say, is that because you had a terrible game week, or is that because you want to crack on?
I had an okay game week. It could have been a lot better, I'll be honest, but it was okay.
No, that sounds good. That sounds good. And just a quick shout out to everyone in the chat. Hope everyone is doing well. I see we've got the usual suspects in there.
Victor's in.
Javon's in there. So good to see everybody. But yeah, I think cracking on. I think we've all had a nice international break. We've all wound down. So yeah, I think let's just get stuck into it. I think that's what the people are here for.
I think they are. All right, so let's just start running through some players. So if I said to you, who is, in your mind, the top punts of this game week? Who's the first player that comes to mind?
Like, you can't get much puntier than the main man, Alonzo, can you? Like this, to be fair, this guy has been the talk of the town right now, hasn't he? He's the flavour of the month, and he's kind of bringing back some 2018-19 vibes right now. And I think a lot of people are getting him in their sides for 1 week punt. And to be honest, I'm definitely considering right now.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, we'll come on to my team later. He's definitely one of the players I'm really considering. And it's good we've got you here because you're a Chelsea fan. You can tell us more. Now, I do think he's a great pick for this game week. You know, like I said, he's under Tuchel. He has been starting, I think, has he started 5 games under Tuchel now? Is that right?
Yeah, he's had a fair few games. Yeah, so in the 5 starts that he's had 36 points. So he's doing really well when he actually does start under Tuchel. And obviously, the big sell for Alonso right now is, of course, the defensive stats speak for themselves at Chelsea. Obviously, like at West Brom, you're kind of expecting a clean sheet there. But the role and the positions that he's taking up in this formation right now are just unbelievable. And he really is. So, like, I've just got some notes here, like non-pen XG plus XA, 0.64, 0.55, 0.68. Like, people, I've got stats. Don't worry, they're in my locker.
I like it.
I think that he is a really, if you're looking for a punt, he screams a punt right now because, of course, he's a rotation risk, but his FPL ceiling is so high. And I think if you're wildcarding in game week 31, I would really consider Alonso.
Okay, so the question that everyone's wondering, and I'm wondering myself, is he going to start, or how likely is he to start?
Yeah. God, I wish I had the inside knowledge of this, but the way I'm viewing it right now is I think every Chelsea asset is a risk. I think for this first and foremost,
they're a crap
kind of
team,
like,
aren't they? So you know, but
oh wow, I'm just going to ignore that a minute.
I'm joking. They're a very good team, but yeah, no, carry on.
They are a very good team right now, but I think right now, if you go for a punt, you have to just kind of realise that if you go for a Chelsea asset, all of them, probably barring Mendy, is a rotation risk. The way I look at it right now is Chilwell featured, I'm going to say, twice over the international break. Alonso didn't play a minute. I think Alonso features in easier games, but there's no real correlation right now. And I don't want anybody to kind of make a decision based on that assumption. But I think a lot of the kind of ways are pointing towards him starting. And I think there is enough information there to play him. But end of the day, if you do bring him in, just be wary that he could be rotated, of course.
Right, were you dancing around it there, Nacho? Is he going to bloody start? I mean, is Chilwell going to play? Or
he's going to start.
He is going to start, okay. So if he doesn't start and I bring him in, you're dead meat next week, mate. That's all I'm saying. Right, you're absolute dead meat.
Guys in the chat, please let me know what your thoughts are because I need some backing up here. But I think that I'm going to say he starts, but don't clip that.
Oh, we will. We will. So Jeff on in the chat saying Chilwell played 2 international games, so maybe Alonso starts. I mean, does give us some hope, doesn't it?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Exactly. We don't need Chilwell defensively, even though he is a bit suspect defensively. And there's a good point here about Mishka asking about Azpilicueta as an alternative to Alonso. Yeah, I think he is. If you are looking for the the ideal replacement in terms of minutes, then you've got Azpilicueta. I think if you are right now got a team where you're not willing to take the risk, Azpilicueta is a good pick, but his FPL ceiling is a lot lower than Alonso's, I would say.
So maybe it's a case of if you're not wildcarding next game week, you maybe bring in Azpilicueta this week. But if you're doing the wildcard, you go for Alonso. Let's just talk about the... 100%. Okay. So in your mind, for Chelsea defenders, Alonso is the top one, and his stats are currently backing that up, aren't they? Attacking-wise, he's got the highest numbers. If he starts, he's most likely to do something. Yeah. Okay. And then Azpilicueta is kind of below, and obviously if you're really on budget, then you've got... Rudiger as well, but I think Alonso's the one. All right, well, let's stick with Chelsea because I think they do have the best fixture this week, don't they, with West Brom? And I do want to bring someone up about Chelsea. Is there a risk that we're hyping them up too much? Because, you know, they have ground out a couple of results, 1-0, 2-0. It could be a low-scoring game, so... Do we target the defenders? Do we target the midfielders? Do we target the forwards? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is a big one, really. As people have mentioned, like Tuchel has been unbelievable at Chelsea so far, and the way we're playing right now is very much a possession-based game. Obviously, defensively we're solid, but we're not exactly blowing teams out of the water right now. I think that's going to be a progression for next season. I don't see that right now at Chelsea. I think we're very much just possession-based, and hopefully the clinical nature of the team comes in, because right now I wouldn't say we have clinical finishers in the team just based on confidence and general kind of, the way that we're playing right now. It doesn't tailor towards that. But what I would say is I do think there are a few assets there that I would bring in, but again, long term, I would be a little bit worried about their minutes going forward. And we mentioned previously about Havertz. He's the exact same situation as Alonso right now. I do think that he will play, but there's even more. There's such a chance that he could be dropped as well. But he featured the last 2 games and underlying stats, such a small sample to go off, but he actually has started to turn the tide a little bit, and he's produced some stats that you'd suspect him to get in the false nine. So I would say that if you're looking at a longer term perspective for Chelsea assets, I would stick to the defenders.
That's interesting.
What are yours?
Yeah, I mean, Victor was saying Mendy. I think Mendy on wildcard is a definite, but as a 1 week punt, I'm not sure. Obviously targeting other players, but Chelsea, I think I do quite like Mason Mount. And I spoke about him weeks and weeks ago on the Scoutcast before he kind of, went big. And I just think he's the type of player who could go really big this week because everyone's drawn to kind of Alonso, they're drawn to Havertz. With Mount, he's involved in everything Chelsea do. He's on the set pieces. He's, basically an attacking midfielder. He's quite far up. So I think he's a really good option this week. What do you think about Mount?
Yeah, no, big Mount fan. Like obviously, when he was getting the stick back in the day, you only had to watch him to realise that he was a top player. Output he's doing well. I think underlying stats are a little bit below the likes of Havertz, but obviously I'm going off such a small sample base. I think if you are looking for security, I wouldn't even say Mount is necessarily absolutely secure because it's so competitive right now, and because we're playing the double. The 2 in midfield, it's going to be Kante and Kovacic or Jorginho, so there's no space for Mount in that 2. So he effectively won't be playing off the left. That's Werner and Pulisic usually. So he's usually playing his position up against Ziyech. And recently Ziyech's minutes have been coming up a little bit. He's been performing really well. Ziyech getting some important goals. So I would say Mount is a good option, but I would probably say that his minutes were more secure a month ago than they are going to be in the next month, I think. I think he's such a top player. Anyone who watches the England game, he was absolutely superb. But I do think that his minutes could be risked just because of Ziyech's upturn in form. But I do like him as an option.
Mishka said Mount has good returns away. It's a good point. And FPL tips is in. He's saying he's the best midfielder in the Prem. Now the Chelsea fans say, no, he's a great player. He is a great player.
Tips knows, big fan obviously of Chelsea, and he appreciates that the games back in the day where at Chelsea were poor, Mount was the only man who was actually doing anything, and he knows tips.
Is there anything in the forwards of Chelsea? I mean, Timo Werner, do we dare go there, or what? Giroud? What do you think?
I wouldn't go near Giroud or Abraham just because of this slight change that we're going for. Havertz in the false 9, it's straight away just threw another spanner in the works, and we couldn't even decide who was first choice between Giroud or Abraham. You're chucking Havertz in the mix as well, and that's a no-go area for me. But I would love to say Werner will be an option. I think he's still going to be a phenomenal option next season, but I I think, again, if you're in a rank where you're really not enjoying where you are right now, I think Werner is an excellent, probably 4-game week punt. But yeah, I wouldn't touch him right now if you are, playing conservative sort of strategy. That would be for the risk takers, I think.
All right, just rank the top 3. If you could bring in any Chelsea asset, just to rank the top 3. I think for me, it's Alonzo, Mount, and then Aspilicueta. That's what I would say.
Okay, yeah. So I would definitely go Alonso. I just love his FPL ceiling right now. I think I would put Havertz there, but that's probably I have more hope that he'll start. And I like the way he's playing right now. And yeah, I would probably throw a Mount in there. Again, I would love to throw Werner in there.
Well, you just throw in names left, right, and centre, actually. That doesn't help anyone.
Oh, hey, Jorginho. We haven't spoken about him, but he could be a pick.
Yeah,
maybe,
Jevon
but
asking, is he fit?
He's not a fun 1-week punt.
No. All right, so that's kind of Chelsea covered. I think we're both kind of agreeing that Alonso is the risky but potentially the biggest ceiling player off that lot, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's have a think about other players. Now, I'm going to throw one in the ring that's kind of been completely forgotten about. And you won't be surprised, but it's Everton's James Rodriguez. Here we go, lads. So he is back from injury now, and he's been training basically over the last 2 weeks. Really good fixture for Everton against Crystal Palace, and I fancy them in this game because they've had 2 games now where they've lost, and I just think they're due. They're really due to bounce back, and I think they're going to bounce back well, and he's going to start. I'm pretty certain of it. So I think Hammers.
I was going to say, I think that's the big risk right now, isn't it? And people watching right now, is he a risk of minutes? Obviously, being out for about 4 games, is it? So would you expect him to definitely come straight back into the mix?
I think he will. I do think he will. I think the only thing says he does usually come off around the 65-minute mark. So, I mean, speaking without my Everton glasses on, it is a bit risky because if he doesn't get anything and you get to the 60-minute mark, you're going to be fuming, aren't you? So it is a risk, but he's one that no one's really talking about. So I thought I'd throw into the mix.
Yeah, I like it. I like it as I think he's got a good chance of doing well in that fixture if he does start. I would just say the worry of obviously returning from injury might come off the bench, but no, I like it definitely as a 1-week punt. Don't get much puntier than that.
You watch it, actually. So
I was going to say, what about the other assets?
Yes, so FPL Avatar is asking about Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin, it's not as straightforward as everyone thinks. I mean, when you look on the face of it, this is a really good game for Calvert-Lewin because I think I'm right in saying that Crystal Palace is defensive numbers from aerially are really bad, aren't they? I think they're the worst. And obviously Calvert-Lewin is probably one of the best players in the air, and Crystal Palace cannot defend kind of aerial crosses. So on the face of it, he does look pretty good, doesn't he? I think the only thing I would say is Calvert-Lewin's such a confidence player, and he's just not quite there at the moment. There's something, he doesn't have that kind of spark that he had early in the season. I could see a goal, but I don't think you're going to get more than that. But I say it's a good fixture. If you need a forward, I think he's probably, apart from Kane, the best punt to go for this week, Calvert-Lewin.
So I think it kills me still to this day that you made a call about Richarlison doing well, and he actually did do well. Yeah. So for the people watching right now, would you go Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin if you had to pick?
I think that's very tough. I mean, it's Richarlison on form, but then Calvert-Lewin because of the defensive stats of Crystal Palace and not being able to concede. But I think I'd go Richarlison. He's just in form. I think he's had like a 2-week rest. I think a lot of the South American players stayed. So yeah, I think I'd go Richarlison actually, which I didn't think I'd say. But yeah, Tips is just saying that half our viewers left after I mentioned James Rodriguez. Oh, that's fantastic.
Like I said, you clip the quote about me with Alonso. I'll take that with James Rodriguez, and then we will we'll have a bit of ammunition later on in the week if they don't play.
Victor, actually, I can't believe it. Victor, a Liverpool fan, is mentioning another great Everton player, which is Luka Dean.
Yeah, come on, we got to talk about this guy because for those who are watching and don't know, FPL Prince is the number one fanboy of Digne. Got a tattoo on his. No, he ain't got a tattoo, of course. Yeah,
I will.
No. Yeah, let me ask you, Prince. Have you owned Digne this season?
I think I did for a very brief period. And
Okay.
it's not going to be. This is so difficult on Luka Dean because I don't trust Everton defensively. Now, yes, it's a great fixture. The likelihood is Crystal Palace won't score. So, yeah, he should be good, right? This should be a really good game for him. But Everton do just seem to concede the odd silly goal. And against teams that aren't very good, I mean, every time they have a good fixture, you think, oh, this is a good fixture. And it never works out. Like, we lost to Burnley. We always lose to the poorer team. So I wouldn't go Luka Dean. It's too risky in the Everton defence. I know, surprise.
Very
surprised. I know. So, yeah, no, Luka Dean, I'm not sure. I think if you're going to go Everton, I'd go Richarlison. But if you really want to punt, James Rodriguez, and obviously Calvert-Lewin maybe safe. But yeah, let's have a think about other players. I mean, what do we do? Someone in the chat asked earlier about Gundogan and the Man City assets. What's your thinking there?
Yeah, it's such a tough one because obviously Leicester are a solid team. That's going to be a really tough match for Man City, even though they're obviously a lot better than everybody else in the league right now. So it's a really tricky one because you probably are going to be looking. So certain situations, the managers I've seen have a situation where they want to bring in a 1 week punt, but Gundogan would likely be the man who comes out of their starting 11 and onto their bench. And yeah, I kind of see the little bit of the logic in there because I don't see Gundogan necessarily having a huge haul against Leicester, just because I rate Leicester pretty highly. In terms of longer term, obviously, it's such a tricky one right now. They've got decent fixtures. You've got Leeds at home, Villa away. I think Gundogan's probably a hold. I would hold him a little bit longer. I don't see enough from Kevin De Bruyne to necessarily jump onto him in a wild card, although I would trust him more as a captaincy option. But yeah, I think Gundogan's possibly disposable this game week if you're bringing in a 1 week punt and you're really, really confident on him. Otherwise, just start him because Man City are brilliant.
Yeah, it's kind of, I wouldn't bring him in, but if you own him, you kind of play him, don't you? I think.
Yeah, I think managers going to be a bit of a crossroads during the wild card. What they do, whether they consider to jump off the double Man City defence, if Gundogan stays welcome, or those who are looking for a real differential could go into the likes of Mahrez or possibly even go back onto Sterling. So it's going to be a really interesting couple of weeks. But I think for Gundogan in particular, no harm in starting in this game week at all because I think Leicester are a tough cookie, but Man City will win that game.
Yeah.
And a really good point from Giovanni at saying that Gundogan played all three Germany games.
I don't think he is going to start.
That's a big worry right there.
Yeah.
That's a big worry.
I don't think he'll start, but you hold him just in case he does. Nuclear Atoms saying, are we getting more videos from Nacho's car? So yes, you may have seen this week we put Nacho in the car. Obviously, it's not the studio 4K. That's coming back next season. Don't worry. But for now, we chuck Nacho in the car, and let us know what you thought about that. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Well done, mate.
Yeah. Obviously, for those who maybe a few OGs here, I used to film videos back in the car and just my happy place, really. It was always so nice just to watch the birds chirp while I was doing videos. So they are going to be staying to the end of the season unless you guys absolutely hate them, then we might have to change it then. But yeah.
But yeah, no, it was very good, mate. Let's talk about other players then. So looking at punts, I mean, one of the standout fixtures along with Chelsea and Everton, I think, is the Spurs game against Newcastle. For Spurs, I mean, I think realistically there's two players that really stand out, isn't there? It's Kane, I think he's the must, and probably the best captain option this week, I think. And I think Son, I think because he's had that kind of break on internationals now, I can see Son doing well. What's your thoughts on the Spurs assets?
I was just about to say, what is the latest update? Guys in particular in the chat, let me know if Son is he definitely confirmed playing?
I don't know about Son. I mean, I've got Regulion, your favourite chap. I know that he's a doubt, but I'm not sure on Son yet. But yeah, people in the chat, let us know. And Victor, thank you for your great support and super chat. What a top man.
Oh, wow,
he's got a bit of a knee injury at the minute. So Victor, rest up, enjoy the football this weekend, chat with us, and just hopefully you recover. Thank you very much.
Yeah, really appreciate it, Victor. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
But Tottenham, I think it's Kane and Son all the way. I think if you're looking for a third, is there a third? I don't think there is. I mean, what's your thoughts on Bale? I can't see. I don't know. I don't think he'll start, to be honest.
Well, we mentioned, didn't we, prior to game week
Mm.
29 blank, I was very against Gareth Bale,
Mm.
and I was so against him just because he had a few good games, but the underlying stats did not support it at all. How they were actually performing, and I think I wouldn't be bringing him in.
No.
I would not be bringing him in at all. I think even if Son's out, I just still don't rate Bale enough to
No.
justify his price tag. I don't see enough. Now, of course, I do have the double game week,
Mm.
which would be quite an
Yes.
interesting decision for managers going forward in terms of their wild cards. But again, you're not considering Bale on a wild card, are you? Really?
No.
So I would rule out
Yeah.
Bale. I wouldn't be looking at
Yeah,
him.
I think it's just Kane and Son, and I'm quite looking forward to doing
Yeah,
our wildcard video next week actually, because it's going to be
oh,
so
it's gonna be
interesting,
brilliant.
isn't it? So yeah. All right. So is there any other punts you've kind of got in mind for this week, or anything?
Yeah, so I think looking at the fixtures, really, I think one of the big standouts right now is Leeds against Sheffield
Mm.
United, and it's not tricky at all, really. I think a lot of managers are coming to game week 29 with triple leads or double leads, and Bamford, Dallas, and Rafinha are probably the prime suspects in their teams. So a lot of managers in the chat are probably coming into game week 30 with Leeds assets, and obviously holding on to them for this game week. It looks a really good option because Sheffield United are preparing for the Championship
Mm.
right now, and although they don't get turned over every game week 5-0, they're really not playing for anything necessarily, and because they haven't got a manager there to impress, it's kind of just a little bit waiting to the season to end. So I really do think if you don't own Rafinha in particular, I think he's an excellent option because I really apologise, Leeds fans, but he's not going to be there in the next few
Mm.
years because the guy's an absolute baller. I don't know how they picked him up really without any competition because the bloke is on fire recently. I think he's one of them players that's probably going to be a bit frustrating because he isn't necessarily as clinical as he should be, but I think he's an excellent 1 week punt and almost a differential captain. I would go as far as.
Yeah, I think Rafinha is an absolute must, and obviously Bamford, if fit, I think is a good option. Just check Nacho. Is your phone near the laptop? There's a bit of interference. Just fling your phone off, mate.
Well, there we go.
But yeah, I think Leeds really. I mean, I still don't own Dallas, and it's killed me. I really fancy Dallas this week. I think Dallas is going to score again. I've just got a horrible feeling, and I'm stuck with Luke Ayling, who has great underlying stats, but it's just not delivered. So hopefully this is the time. Murray was saying, who are we going for captain? I think the standout captain is Kane this week, isn't it? But by quite a bit. What's your thoughts on Bruno Fernandez? I mean, I don't own Bruno Fernandez. What do you think? He's had a bit of a drop off in the stats recently, hasn't he?
Yeah. Obviously, there's such a big divide in terms of Fernandez. You've got the managers here who absolutely love him and naturally should be because he's like one of the highest performing FPL players, and you've got the others who are saying he overperforms his output all the time, and he's a penalty merchant. I think he might have a tricky game against Brighton. I think he might have a tricky game. I think Brighton are one of them teams where you don't know which Brighton are going to turn up, really. They really do have decent underlying stats, but don't necessarily perform. But I really like them as a team. I think it's going to be a tricky game for Man United. I think always if you're struggling for captaincy, like how can you argue with Fernandez because his output is so consistent? But I do think that the likes of Kane are better options. So what's your thoughts, mate? Are you on the same boat as me, or are you in the camp of
Yeah,
Fernandez?
I mean, Fernandez is so reliable, and not owning him is horrendous. I think he just ticks over. At the very least, he's probably going to get assists, but there has been a bit of a drop off in the stats attacking wise. So he's the kind of, if you have him, you hold. If you don't own him, you could get away with it this week, but maybe bring him back on wildcard. I think that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, there's a really good point there from Mishko, who said that when Pogba returns, his stats naturally do decline. So
That's coming from Murray saying, great work on the show, by the way, pre-lockdown. Yeah, obviously, before lockdown, we had the whole fancy setting, and it is going to be coming back, people. Don't worry. Next season, we're going to be back in the studio. 4K is going to sound crisp. It's just because of lockdown, obviously, we have to do it from home. So it's coming back. Don't worry. And on that, we do actually have some exciting news, which we've just launched our website, which is fplfan.com. Now, on fplfan.com, we're going to be releasing articles kind of every week. And we started a new article called Fan Favourites, which is basically where we pick 11 players who we think are going to do well in that game week. So we've just released that. We'll put it out on social tomorrow, but it is on there now. And obviously, if you want to sign up on the website, it's free. And basically, we send you out an email with our top articles, and it's all free. So if you're interested, sign up and come support us. So check that out, guys. Very excited, Nacho.
Yeah, no, really exciting. Yeah, I think we've always had a little bit of a desire to get back in the article game a little bit. So it's been really good to kind of get that up and going. We think the website looks great. Obviously, you guys let us know what you think about it. But yeah, it's going to be good to kind of do a bit of written format, a bit more detailed, just to kind of bit more like delving into a little bit more for those managers, obviously, that enjoy that sort of thing. If you enjoy gibberish, then keep tuning into our live streams, really. That's the decision.
Hey, it's gibberish from you, Nacho. This is quality content here. God, Jesus. Nuclear Atom saying thoughts on Luke Shaw. I think with Luke Shaw, I'm very tempted to bring him in on the wild card because he has gone a little bit cold, but over the whole this season, he's been fantastic value. So I do like Luke Shaw.
Yeah, no, I like Luke Shaw as well. I think he's had a decent season so far. I wouldn't necessarily be looking to bring him in the wild card just because their fixtures are a little bit mixed, but he's obviously been a really good value. And those managers that jumped on him early for the run of returns that he did have, top work. But I wouldn't be too panicked about not owning him in the long term.
Absolutely. Murray said when Prince used to hide behind the Dean profile, I did, but now I'm just beautiful and bold, and you can all see me, unfortunately.
Brighton's Bruno,
I know,
isn't it,
exactly. Okay, so should we have a look at our teams and see how we're set up for this game week?
Yes, let's do it. God, I need to remind myself what my team looks like. It's been too while.
I know, exactly. So people start putting comments about the website. Yeah, let us know what you think about the website. We're trying to go for something clean, modern, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But this is my team. I haven't made any transfers yet. Obviously got one free transfer. On the face of it, I mean, I know it looks good. I look like I'm in a good position. Now, where my kind of transfer thoughts are at the moment is I either want to bring in a Chelsea player or an Everton player. And my gut at the moment, I think, is to do Reguilon to Alonzo. I just think if Alonzo plays, I don't think Chelsea are going to smash West Brom. I think it'll be like 1 or 2-0. So if he plays, I think he's a really good option. What do you think about that move, Reguilon to Alonzo?
Yeah, obviously, like I said, I'm in the camp of Alonso. I think that's a solid move. I think, obviously, the big one is, do you want Reguilon possibly going forward for the double game week? But equally, you can wildcard him straight back in. Obviously, you're looking at a particular 1 week punt. Just to reiterate the guys who are obviously in the chat, this is very much the strategy of having a 1 week punt option. So, God, mate, you've done well holding Grealish. I'll just say that, but that could be rewarded this game week because he's surely not going to be highly owned, and he could be one that could go under the radar this week. But Reguilon to Alonso, I think you've got the bench to cover if he doesn't play as well. And I think if you just take the approach that he may play, and if he does play, he has a seriously high ceiling, then I think that's a solid move.
Yeah,
in other words, I don't really see who else I would sell in your team.
That's the problem. I mean, I can't really get rid of any of the others, can I?
I
know that's my next dilemma. Am I?
But he's. I hate him. I hate him.
Am I starting the right players? I mean, my thinking is, if Cancelo doesn't start, he's not going to come on. So Stones will come on. I'm happy with that. Watkins has got a decent fixture, but he's such a pain owning. He just never does. He hits the post every bloody game, or he's blanked quite a lot now. So I feel like this is right. But my current thoughts are definitely, Reguilon to Alonso. I know I could go the safe option, which is Azpilicueta. I don't know. What do you think? Azpilicueta or Alonso? Which one?
I think this is it really for the managers that are listening. I think Azpilicueta, if you just want to play safe, I think when I look at a particular 1 week punt, I'm comfortable with the idea of him not playing. I think I want that kind of that sauce, I want that. I want to be sweating when I own this player. So that's why I want Alonso. So that's gonna be my selling point.
Mate. Sauce and sweating. I tell you what, everyone, he was sweating when he had to try and get to the stream, and his missus was trying to get him to feed the dog before this. That's when you were sweating.
I literally had coffee in one hand, water, everything was going everywhere. We got here though.
You did. All right. I think captain's definitely going to be Harry Kane. And I think Reguilon's going to go because he's a bit of a fitness worry. So it would be that, or like a Watkins to a Calvert-Lewin, or something, but I'm fairly happy with it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's solid. And we've mentioned before, haven't we, that you might even have your hands tied. You might have your oh Christ!
Oh, he is getting saucy over here, aren't you?
You might have the decision made for you with Gundogan.
Yes.
Obviously, may not feature, so you might even have to use your bench anyway.
The most boring move I could do is bring back Fernandez, but I mean, it's probably the sensible thing to do. But
bring back Fernandez, yeah,
I think it's I can't. Is it Musica Pogo saying? Based decision on whether Son/Grealish to declare fit, and that is true. It's definitely a week to save your transfer till tomorrow because there's so many kind of red flags. We don't know who's going to be starting, and I think that will dictate a lot of transfers. All right, let's have a look at your team, Nacho, and then we'll do a Q&A for everyone. So this is how you're currently set up.
Let's remind myself of my team, Christ.
Yeah, so you got Target, Dallas, and Diaz at the back, and you got go on, run us through.
Yeah, I've got a reminder now, thankfully. So it is obviously coming off the back of game week 29. So yeah, I'm happy with my team right now. So I was originally going to sell Salah. I've held on to him, and I'm praying that Salah just somehow finds a bit of form in the back end of the season and becomes almost a bit of a differential, just particularly for this game, really. So similar to Prince, I'm wildcarding in the game week 31. So I'm looking at a 1 week punt. And to be honest with you, after the last half an hour that I've been saying, how could I not bring in Alonzo? Seriously, I'm going to have people outside my house with pitchforks if I don't.
Well, it will be me.
So
yeah, it will be me.
100% will be you, honestly. So I think right now, obviously, it's going to be completely press conference dependent. So similar to what you said, do not make a transfer until Friday evening unless your move is completely not relevant to injuries or obviously things like that. But I would recommend everybody waiting until the last minute. So I am probably looking at Dunk out to Alonzo. So he was my game week 29 transfer. Done me well, but I'm obviously not going to be keeping him from Man United away. So I think what I'll probably be doing is Dunk to Alonzo. I'll be benching Gundogan on the assumption that he gets dropped. And I'm comfortable with that because I think, as I mentioned, I really am very impressed with Leicester as a team. I think that's going to be a tricky game for Man City, although I expect them to win. 3 games for Germany, so I'm happy to put him as first sub, and Alonso with the FPL ceiling that he had. So, yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward with my team. We've got Kane as captain. I don't see any other option. Bamford right now is my vice, could be on Rafinha, and I'm just praying that Salah is the differential because it would be crazy to think that, but right now he's currently sat at 29%. I can't remember the last time we've sat at that sort of... And that's probably a lot of dead teams as well. So.
I think it is surprising with Salah. I think with Jota, I mean, Victor said he's got a transfer query. He's saying he's got Reguilon. He's going to take Reguilon and Trossard out, but does he go for Azpilicueta and Mount or Alonso and Jota? That's really tricky because Jota, I think, is the reason why so many have sold Salah because he's looking in really good form. He's got good form over the internationals. That's a really tough one, actually.
Yeah, that's super tough. That is super tough. I think you'll go in there with it's one of those where I prefer Alonso to Azpilicueta, but only for 1 game week. I think longer term I'll go Azpilicueta. I think that decision's probably your choice there. But in terms of Jota versus Mason Mount, be Jota for me. I think he really is a top player, and he's going to be featuring a lot of Liverpool games. I think unless Klopp really focuses on Champions League.
Yeah, I'm going to change my mind. I think I actually agree. I think Alonso with Jota. I did think originally before, but I think Alonso and Jota have a higher ceiling than Mount and Mount and Azpilicueta. A good point by Nuclear Atom talking about Leicester assets, and he says Iheanacho or Maddison. Now, I think I would go with Iheanacho just because the form he's been in is so good. Now, they do have a very difficult fixture, but if it's for the long term, I think at this point in the season, I think I'd just go for it and go with Iheanacho. What do you think?
Iheanacho going forward? Yeah. Obviously, we've got I'm looking at their fixtures right now. We've got Man City at home, West Ham away in the next 2. I think that's tricky fixtures. But yeah, he's come out of nowhere, really. He's always been a top player. Well, I wouldn't say top player, but I would say he's got natural talent. But I do think that he could be a real differential for managers in particular. But I wouldn't be looking at him for the next 2 fixtures. I think that their fixtures are one to jump on in game week 32 onwards. West Brom, Palace, Southampton. My always one worry with Iheanacho is he almost just kind of disappears at
Yeah.
some points. He kind of just he'll feature for a bit. He's done this before in the past, and then when Rodgers might get his starting 11 back fully, then one bad game it feels like for Iheanacho and he's back on the bench. I feel that always happens with him, but this could be the turning point for him, and I wouldn't put anyone off bringing him in, but just again know that risk really. That's all.
A pretty crazy stat from FPL Tips actually saying when Jota starts, he has scored 40% of Liverpool's goals. I can't believe that.
Wow.
You'd think I am really shocked by that, and I think that's why. I mean, Spot was very nice, but he said you made some good points on Salah, Nacho. God, that man.
Thank you, mate.
All right, let's
Thank
not
you.
give Nacho that much. That's the first good thing he said in weeks. So, but yeah, I think Jota is. That's surprise. 40% of Liverpool's goals. That's huge.
That's unbelievable.
That's huge.
That's unbelievable. And to be honest with you, when you look at the price range, you look at the form, the underlying stats, I think Jota wins that hands down. As I mentioned, I do like Salah because he's slowly becoming a differential, but I just think the capacity that you have with your team with the money, it's difficult to vouch for Salah when Jota is starting and performing well. But yeah, that's a crazy stat. Yeah, that's a top stat.
Patricio is saying Bale, keep or sell. I think if you own Bale, I'd probably keep him just because of the good fixture. But long term, I don't think I'd want him.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I'd probably keep him, even possibly up for the double game week. But then after that, I wouldn't be bringing him in at all, and I'd probably look to sell.
But yeah, no, I think going back to your Leicester points, I think Leicester on the wild card next week are definitely a team we're going to be targeting, and I think players like Maddison and Iheanacho are good options. And I'm assuming you're going to captain Kane as well.
Yeah, I think Kane's the top captaincy pick this game week. When I look at captaincy in particular, just as a general rule of thumb, I want a player that plays full 90, of course, set pieces. But the thing with Kane as well is that he's always had this part of his game, but he's just become such a creator in the team, especially if Son is made fit. And as well with Kane, I don't know many players who score the variety of goals that he does. When I look at particular strikers, I can kind of pinpoint where their strengths are. With him, like we saw it for England, heading, he just scores 30-yard goals. And when you have a player like that, it's so difficult to put him down for a whole 90 minutes. And that's why he's always one of my go-to guys for captaincy. I think he's solid pick. And Newcastle have actually been okay defensively looking at their stats. I'm not necessarily expecting Spurs to blow them out the water, to be honest with you. But I think I always fancy Kane to score.
I do as well. Talking of another English player, Jack Grealish is meant to be back this week. Now, I actually still own Grealish.
Yeah,
I know. Well, I don't know if done well is the right word, but yeah, I know what you mean. Is that gonna change Aston Villa's fortunes around? What do you think?
Honestly, like if he can get Watkins to score, like I'm rocking up with the next live stream, like with my hair shaven, I'm going for the full Grealish look.
Wow.
The top length. Honestly, like Grealish is what makes Villa tick, and we forget what good of an asset he was. He had a bit of a poor run not recently, but he was going off the ball a little bit. I think with the change of position when El Ghazi came into the team, he was not as far forward as he originally was. But yeah, I really like him as a pick. And just looking at Villa's fixtures right now going forward, they do come into some poor fixtures, so I wouldn't be looking to bring him in anytime soon. They got Liverpool away and then Man City at home. But West Brom after that. I fancy Villa to do okay from game week 33 onwards, so I would probably wait for Jack Grealish until game week 33. But for you, mate, this could be a real differential in this game week. I think he's got a great chance if he does start.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I think Grealish is a big plus for Villa, defensively and attacking wise.
Yeah, and just for our eyes, mate, when we get to watch the game, what a beautiful man.
Well, you're just saying that because you think you look like Nacho Monreal, mate. You don't look like Jack Grealish, and
I look like a Nacho Monreal Peter Crouch hybrid.
Nacho this week posted a clip being like, "Oh, isn't it really difficult? We all look like Jack Grealish on the FPL fan show page. We all look like Jack Grealish. I don't look like bloody Jack Grealish, mate, do I? I mean, what a shame that is having all that long hair. Oh, isn't that hard? You fucking lunatic you are.
I didn't think about that actually. Yeah.
No, you enjoy it. You enjoy it, mate. Don't worry. I've got the big beard. It's all right.
Yeah, I was going to say you got that. I got the most Patrick beard ever. So honestly, if anyone in the chat can relate, then you'll know the traumas I have with this beard. Jesus Christ.
All right. So should we do a Q&A for everyone? let's
Yes, let's open up.
guys in the chat, and everyone, if you have any questions about your team or any questions for the next few weeks, let us know. As always, we'll go through and try to help you and answer as many as we can. Nacho, do you want to start reading them out?
Yes, let's do it. So I've typically chosen one that I can't pronounce, but we got
Musica Pogo.
Musica Pogo. We haven't answered this one yet, have we? Shifting Emi Martinez and Lloris as it covers game week 32 double, and it means it doesn't reduce your squad count by 1 for game week 33 for every other Spurs player.
I think it's basically sort of, well, if we're talking about having multiple goalkeepers, I think at this point in the season I would just go with one keeper, but I understand with the 32. So yeah, and obviously the double. This Everton and Villa have still got to have another fixture arranged, haven't they? But we know Tottenham have the double.
Yeah. There's still some decisions to be made there, but yeah, I think if you gear the team towards a game week 32 double, then I think it's a solid move. But I agree. I think I wouldn't be banking all my money into the goalkeepers right now. I think we know who the established goalkeepers are now. I think you can, especially if you're a wild card, and you can get yourself a player who has a decent 7 game weeks and just stick by that and invest the rest of the money into the assets that are actually going to climb your ranks. Because to be honest with you, between now and the end of the season, my least worry is goalkeepers. Yeah. I think that's not a worry right now in terms of the gap. I can't see a goalkeeper scoring 100 points more than another goalkeeper, whereas that could happen with an attacking asset. Maybe not 100, but you know what I mean.
I think the best goalkeeper for the last part of the season is actually Mendy at Chelsea, your boy. I think just defensively they look so good, and he's like the one player that's not going to be rotated, so I think he's a good option. Alex is asking, is Wolves defence good enough without Patricio? Was tempted with Cody, but not so sure now. So it's a really good question, because Cody was actually looking really good from an attacking point of view, because he's the one that they're targeting from crosses and set pieces. So his attacking stats for a defender are actually pretty good. And Wolves' defence isn't bad, and they have decent fixtures. So I do really like Cody. Now, without Patricio, yeah, that is a good point. It does affect him a little bit. But if you are looking for a defender, I still, you could go there. It's not a bad option at all.
Oh yeah, I'd be fully still on board with Wolves. To be honest with you, when you look at their fixtures, like we got Wolves have got Fulham away, Sheffield United at home, Burnley at home, West Brom away. Now, I could play in goal and probably keep a clean sheet against one of those.
Oh, Nacho, let's not go that far, mate. What, have you been eating the puppy's food and gone crazy again or something?
No, honestly, look at those fixtures. Come on, Sheffield United and West Brom are 2 of the lowest scoring teams in the league. I think even though Patricio might not be that, I still think a cheap Wolves defender, even Kelman, if he does remain in the team, I think these are solid picks. And I really do think when you do your wildcard team, there are some great cheap assets. And I think Wolves defence is one of them. So I would be definitely considering Wolves even without Patricio.
Okay, let's keep moving through these questions. Yeah, keep sending in your questions, everyone. So Janine J says, who should I bench? Gundogan, Watkins or Bale? Oh, I think I would bench Watkins, because I think Gundogan, if he plays, he's always likely to score. Bale's got a very good fixture. I mean, Watkins does as well, but he's not exactly prolific. So I think I'd bench Watkins. Would you agree?
It would be between... I'm not a big fan of Bale, as I mentioned, but I probably would play him against Newcastle. We spoke about Gundogan. Really, if you do start him, I really wouldn't be surprised if he comes off the bench or doesn't play at all, because we mentioned about the minutes. I think the big thing about those 3 is if you are a manager that but your strategy is always minutes, we know Watkins is going to get 90. So I think that would be my one selling point to Watkins, is if you are all about the minutes, then Watkins would be your pick. Okay.
So Ryan asks, would you bench boost Martinez, Lingard, Diaz and Creswell? Interested in your opinion. Oh, that's tough, because they've all got reasonable fixtures. Oh, I don't know.
So we got Villa. So hang on a second.
Martinez.
Let's just look at this. We've got Villa at home to Fulham. We've got Lingard away to Wolves, Diaz away to Leicester, and then of course Cresswell away to Wolves.
I think
I'll be very tempted by that. I think it's really important, depending on your team setup. I think, and if you're wildcarding as well, because I think if you do have your wildcard, you could definitely prepare your team for a bench boost to really capitalize on it. But I think the important thing is assess your squad, maybe just do a little jot out about what your team would look like in each game week, and just see if there's any game week which is like a magical kind of combination where they all have phenomenal fixtures. Otherwise, I think that's a solid move.
Victor's been very generous. The FPL franchise #1 fan sent us a super chat with a beer emoji. We can get an Easter egg, have a beer. That's lovely, Nacho. We're going to be all right for Easter, mate.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it. What's that, sorry?
I was going to say, actually, some sad... Nacho, actually, you lost your job this week, didn't you? Unfortunately, with the whole lockdown thing. So one good thing is you still have FPL, and we have all you lovely people.
You guys aren't fed up at me, because this is going to become a thick and fast content now. So.
Exactly. We're taking Nacho on, don't worry.
No, we do appreciate it, Victor. And obviously, on our site, we're going to be future merchandise, aren't we? So we're going to have to get one out to Victor.
We're going to have to send Victor a t-shirt, I think, definitely, for free, as a thank you. Thank you, Victor. Okay, so Nuclear Atom sending in some cracking comments. He's saying, Nacho needs to eat some special Regulion pasta to recover some brain cells from your comments. So that's fantastic. Brilliant. I love that. But he's also asking, Alonzo or Shaw while having Rudiger? I think it depends on your strategy. If you're wildcarding next week, I think I'd go Alonzo, because if the ceiling's much higher. But if it's long term, I'd go Shaw. So it depends on your strategy. I would say Nuclear Atoms.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. I agree on that.
Janine says, thank you for confirming her choice. Our pleasure.
Got one from Harsh CSS. Is it too late to jump on the Man City defence?
I was going to say it's not too late. It's going to be interesting when we wildcard about having a City defender. I still think it's worth having one, because more often than not, if they don't play, they don't usually come on, especially Stones. So, you're not looking at, it's not going to be a case of if you own him and play him, it's like he comes on for 1 point. That doesn't usually happen. You're just going to have a bench player come on. So I definitely think there's value in having one. And I think with Cancelo, you always have that attacking potential. So you're still likely to get a big haul at the end of the season. And Diaz plays most games. So I think it is worth still getting one. Yes. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, Man City is still one of the best defensive teams in the league. I think the one consideration we need to make, and this goes for all the top teams, is we've got Champions League football coming in and a few cup games still. So really just be wary about the Man City defence in terms of rotation risk. I think Diaz is probably your #1 pick if you're completely worried about minutes. Otherwise, as Prince said, I think Cancelo is an excellent option as well. But definitely wouldn't be going down the double Man City defence strategy. I'd be going more down the single. But equally, I think if you're wildcarding, I think there is an argument not to have Man City assets just because the fixtures aren't necessarily amazing. But to be honest with you, with the way they're playing right now, it doesn't matter who they really have. I fancy them getting a clean sheet in any of the games. So I think that a one Man City defender strategy is your best move.
I agree. Victor said he might be able to help you out later, Natch, by the way. So give him a message on Twitter.
Oh, appreciate it, Victor. Man, this is a man of many.
Victor's a star. Our saviour.
He is a star. I can't wait for it. Honestly, when we can do FPL meetups.
We can't wait to meet everyone when we do an FPL meet. It's going to be fantastic, isn't it? Nuclear Atom saying...
I'll have my 1 point and be
exactly.
drunk.
Nuclear Atom saying, you still have us, Nacho. You do. You have the FPL fan show fans. You do.
All
exactly.
That's all we need.
Musica Pogo saying, do Leicester have any defenders around 5 million or below around their good games, or do I just go Rudiger? I think I would go Rudiger. Leicester defence, really tricky one. I don't know. There's no one that really appeals to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I need to refresh myself on Leicester fixtures a minute from game week 32 onwards. I think there was a lot of managers that were going for the Ricardo Pereira move, and unfortunately, obviously, that didn't turn out very well recently. But the fixtures are good. West Brom at home, Palace at home, Southampton away, Newcastle at home. So they do look like really, really good fixtures for a Leicester asset. And, the boy, Justin, obviously, hopefully a quick recovery there, because that guy would have been the absolute lock for teams. But yeah, I think a Leicester asset would be a good pick. I wouldn't go to Pereira, too expensive. I'm a bit worried about him. But around 5 million, I don't really know who can get for that money, really. You could probably go for a Soyuncu, maybe, but
I think
I like Chelsea. I think Rudiger's your best pick.
I agree. Nuclear Atom saying KDB or Gundogan. Oh, so tough this. It depends on the rest of your team, because I still actually prefer Gundogan, because I think he's he may not start quite as much as KDB, but he's always further forward. He's the one that taps in the goals, and at half the price, you can do so much more with your team. So I'm gonna stick my neck on the line and say Gundogan is the one to go for.
Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. I think I need to see a bit more from De Bruyne. One thing I would say is he offers a captaincy option, which I would be a bit more confident on, just because of him. Just because of him, I fancy Kevin De Bruyne to outscore Gundogan from now until the end of the season, but not by enough to justify the additional 6 million, if that makes sense.
He's also asking who's your 1 week punt in midfield this week. If we had to pick one midfielder, who would it be?
Wow. So we've obviously hyped up Rafinha already. I think he's an excellent pick for this particular game week. God, outside of that, I don't really know who I would necessarily go for. I would love to say a Chelsea midfielder, but I'm just worried about minutes with that one. I think, as I mentioned, Havertz is a decent pick, but his minutes is risky. Have you got any, mate?
I mean, I'd probably Havertz or Mount. I just think it's the fixture, isn't it? It's a really good fixture. Yeah, I think I'd maybe Mount to be really different.
I think Mount's solid.
Yeah, okay. Harshi is saying, who you guys be captaining? Surely it has to be Kane. Yeah, got to be Kane. Taron saying, with Leeds playing Sheffield United, they're good for 1 week punt and captain Rafinha and Bamford. Yeah, we completely agree. I think Rafinha is actually a really good captain option this week. So if you're not going Kane, I think Rafinha is the next best option.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a solid pick. We mentioned about how Leeds and Sheffield United are just pants, aren't they, right now? So yeah, I think if you look for a differential option, I think Rafinha and Bamford are top picks. Bamford, obviously, with the potential for penalties, is probably going to swing it for some managers.
All right, so should we wrap it up there, Nacho? Thank you, everyone. Some really fantastic questions in there and lovely comments. Well, you guys are fantastic, honestly. We literally love talking to you. We can't wait to get back in the studio next season, obviously, and it will all be pristine and we can chat there, hopefully, so that'll be good.
Well, we can be physically touching, mate, so it's going to be so
God,
good.
You are saucy tonight, aren't you? Wait until I tell your missus what's going on here.
It all feels like so wrong.
I can't wait to wind you up in person. It'd be fantastic. But yeah, let's hope it's a good game week. Nice to have the football back. I think we've all enjoyed the break. We hope everyone has a really good game week. Final thoughts, Nacho?
Yeah, no, obviously this is just, we love doing this, don't we, in terms of the live chat. So obviously we hope that you guys have enjoyed it, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe as well for future videos, because I'll be doing, of course, another car video next game week. And if you have obviously any more last minute questions, going to be doing an Instagram live tomorrow, so be sure to jump on that if you have anything last minute. But yeah, just thanks again for everyone joining, really, because we love it. Absolutely.
Nuclear Atom saying, I miss those sexy dim lights in the background. See, in real life, I'm actually a filmmaker that make videos, so we will make it as sexy as possible. Don't you worry about it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But yeah, no, thanks everyone. I hope you all have a really good game week, and we'll be back next week, and we'll do the wildcard stream. So that's going to be a really big one. So make sure you all come and join. All right, so have a good game week. Say bye, Nacho.